Do you remember when your mother did everything with her own hands? When the house was simple, the food was humble, but the love was immense. Today, I am going to take you back to a time when Canadian mothers did things that nobody else does anymore. There was a time when all Canadian mothers did things the same way. Not because they were forced to, but because that's just how it was done. And if you close your eyes now, you can still smell, hear, and feel the atmosphere of that time. The kitchen was the heart of everything. That old kitchen with the linoleum floor, cracked in places, but scrubbed clean every single day. The wooden table in the center, marked by years of use, homework, flour dust and life. And there she was, your mother, always there, wearing that apron, the one with the faded flowers. The one she seemed to never take off. Her hands always busy, always moving, always making something out of nothing. She woke up before everyone else, always. Before the sun rose, before the birds started singing, she was already there. You could hear her in the kitchen, the whistle of the kettle, the clinking of the pots, the creak of the oven door. And then that smell, that wonderful smell of bread baking, of porridge cooking, of coffee brewing, it filled the whole house. It woke you gently, like a warm hand on your shoulder. Breakfast was never fancy, but it was always there. Warm porridge with brown sugar and melting butter on top. Toast with homemade jam, the kind she made last summer with berries you picked together. Eggs from the neighbor's chickens, orange juice served in those old mismatched glasses. And she would stand there, watching you eat, wiping her hands on her apron, making sure everyone had eaten enough before she sat down. If she ever sat down, after breakfast the real work began. The laundry, every Monday, without fail, rain or shine. She would drag that heavy basket to the yard, to the clothesline stretched between two metal posts. One load of laundry after another, she would hang everything up. Sheets crackling in the wind, your father's work shirts, your school clothes, dish towels, socks tied in pairs with wooden clothespins. And in winter, she would still hang them out. They would freeze on the clothesline, stiff as boards, and she would bring them inside to finish drying near the wood stove, filling the house with that clean, cold, fresh smell. The house was never quiet. There was always something. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock on the wall, the radio playing softly in the background, CBC keeping her company while she worked. The sound of her footsteps going from one room to another, the rustle of the broom, the sound of water in the mop bucket. She cleaned as if it were her highest priority, as if it were her mission, and everything was spotless, always spotless. Lunch was simple. Soup from a pot that always seemed to be on the stove. Tomato soup, chicken soup, pea soup with ham, served with crackers or bread. Grilled cheese sandwiches made in that old cast iron skillet, butter crackling, cheese melting perfectly. She cut them diagonally, always diagonally, and served them with a side of pickles. And somehow, the taste was better than anything you can buy these days. The afternoons were for patching things up. She would sit in that chair by the window, the one with the good light, with her sewing basket on her lap. She would mend socks. She would mend the knees of your jeans. She would sew buttons back onto shirts. Her hands moved with a skill that seemed almost magical. Nothing was thrown away. Everything could be fixed. Everything had more life if you just dedicated time to it. And then, as the afternoon gave way to evening, she would begin to prepare dinner. The real meal of the day. Roast chicken, meatloaf, pork chops, turscher, always with potatoes. Mashed, boiled, or baked, it didn't matter. Potatoes were always on the table. Carrots, peas, sometimes pickled, sometimes from the garden she cultivated every summer. Gravy made from scratch, thick and flavorful. And all served on those old plates, the ones with little flowers on the rim, the ones that had been in the family for ages. Dinner was always at the same time, every night. When your father came home, the whole family gathered around that table. No television, no distractions, just talking. Telling her about your day. Listening to hers, although she never talked much about herself. Always asking about you, always listening. Always present. After dinner, she washed the dishes by hand. Hot, soapy water in the sink. Dishcloth over her shoulder. It dried if you were behaving. If you weren't too busy running off to play, she never complained. She just hummed along with the radio and washed each dish until it shone. Bedtime was a ritual. Baths in that old bathtub with not too much hot water so as not to waste it. Clean pajamas smelling of clothes dried on the line. Teeth brushed, hair combed. And then she would tuck you into bed. Pull the covers up to your chin. Smooth your hair. Kiss your forehead. Whisper goodnight. Turn off the light, but leave the door ajar. Just enough for you to know she was still there. Still taking care of you. She never bought much for herself. New shoes only when the old ones were worn out. A new dress maybe once a year. She saved everything. Bread ties, rubber bands, glass jars, aluminum foil, washed and reused. Leftovers carefully wrapped and saved for the next day's lunch. She made ends meet. She made the money stretch. She made sure you had what you needed, even if it meant giving up something for herself. On Sundays, she'd get ready for church. Her best coat, her hat, her gloves. And she made sure you were presentable too. After church, there was Sunday dinner, the best meal of the week. And then the afternoon, quieter, slower. She might sit for a while, read, knit, rest, finally rest for just an hour before starting all over again. She never asked for thanks, never expected recognition. She simply did it, day after day, year after year, because that's what mothers did. That's what Canadian mothers did. They held it all together with love, hard work, and hands that never stopped moving. And now, so many years later, you realize what she gave, what she sacrificed, what she built with those simple daily acts. A home, a life, memories that will never fade. Do you remember? Do you remember your mother doing these things? Tell us, share your memories in the comments. Let's keep these moments alive together. Thanks for watching.